Hello, welcome to We Build Stuff. Today we're going to install an alternator, or take an alternator out and then install a new one into a 2011 Dodge Caravan. This will also work for a couple vans that are in that similar year. So behind me is a 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan with a 3.6 liter engine. So our battery light came on the other day, tested the battery, no problem. Put on a load test, all that stuff that my little machine can do. And then I tested the alternator and it was not coming out at 14 volts, which is kind of what it should be doing. When you test the battery, it was coming around more like 12. So I know something's going wrong or slowly failing, whether it's the cold weather or not. Either way, let's replace the alternator. So to get to the alternator, which is somewhere down there, I'm going to have to do some stuff from the bottom, some stuff from the top, and most likely have to take off this fan shroud. Not the entire radiator, just the fan shroud. And then I'm going to have to get under here. There's going to be two sets of cables going to it. One of them is going to be like a big pin connector thing, and the other one is just, it's going to be held on with a nut. Because I'm going to be doing some of the work from underneath, I'm going to be jacking it up, taking this tire off, and moving some of the shrouds, or whatever you want to call it, splash guards, basically big pieces of plastic. For safety stuff, I've got some rocks, or proper tire chocks, behind at least one of the wheels for when I jack it up. And I need to remove some kind of power going to the thing, the engine and the car and the stuff. So let's start off by getting off my ground cable here. Make sure that your wrench doesn't go this way across the two terminals. Move that off to the side so it can't cause anything. I'm also going to put the e-brake on. This thing's probably going to get in the way, so just give it a jiggle. Oh, I guess I had a rat in here. That should come up. There we go. And now it's time to concentrate on this area. There's a reservoir here. I want to be careful of that. Bring things up without spilling. Let's start with this little hose here. I might get a little bit coming out. That's my overflow. And looks like some electrical. There's a harness right here. Sometimes you might need a screwdriver or something to pop some of this stuff open. There we go. That one just slides. That's right there. There's a little indent. You gotta press that. Give it a little wiggle and pull without snapping it and having to replace more parts than you meant to for this project. There we go. There's one more thing loose. Check, is there anything else plugged in here? It looks like there's some stuff that's going to be mounted to it. 1, 2, 3 electrical. Try to pop those off if you're able to without destroying everything. What I'm getting at is down there. There's one here and then one that goes to the center of the fan. I'm going to try not to break it because I don't want to have to replace stuff. There we go. There's one. And then I see another. Oh, that's going to be a pain to get to. Way down there, that little center one. I believe I just have to pull something up. Okay, that's a wiring harness out of the way. Next, there's two tabs. There's one here. There's another one right there. You got to kind of press those in so you can pull this whole thing up. Here's one side a little bit. Okay, will I be able to jiggle that out of there without having to take off more stuff? Careful with some of those. So things got a little leaky while I was doing that. That's all right. I'll just have to clean that up a little more than I thought. I'll find another way to plug this. Okay, next I'm gonna get my tires off, loosen them before you lift up the vehicle. Like to throw a jack under there just to be safe. Don't lose these. All right, next thing I need to do is start getting rid of some of these things so I can actually see the alternator. So underneath the vehicle, you're gonna find clips like this. Up there, it looks like some 10 mils. Basically get everything until you can get this whole thing off. Try not to break them because I don't have any replacements. So up in there, I believe that's part of the compressor system, but up behind that, you can see those little fins. That's the alternator. Now, I got a mini breaker bar. I have it installed in this tensioner. I believe it is a 3/8. That just goes in there. I'll be able to grab the thing and move it, all the belt off. Now, before I do the tensioner, I just want to point out, we got 2 bolts. That's what's holding the alternator on. There's also a stud down there. And there's some cables running to it. There is a cable here and a cable there. It's hard to see because of the dark. I'm going to have to take those off camera, but just know you got one there and one there. So the hard one for me, there's a little red clip in one of those black electrical parts. The other one's just a nut that comes off. It's holding like a cable, but down there's been my tricky one. Sorry about my arm just being in the way. Okay, pull that red clip loose, gently get this off. I don't care about the alternator, but I don't want to break that electrical connection. There we go. It just was a bit of a pain to pull off. It's just 2 little things right there. This next one, it looks like a 13. And I can't quite get a ratchet in there, so I'm going to try a wrench. There we go. It's a gear wrench, but it's still a bit annoying. See if I can take that with my fingers now. Don't lose the nut. Don't lose the nut. So you can see that angle a little bit better. There it is, nut. So now those 2 electrical connections are free. There are these 2 nuts, but we're not going to touch that yet. I believe they're like this long, the studs. I need to get the tension off of that pulley. And one thing that's going to be extremely important is you do not pull off that serpentine belt until you know exactly how to put it back together. Draw a picture, take notes, whatever it is, do not take that belt off until you know exactly the order it goes in. Because if you take it off and you won't know how to get back on, you're going to have to figure it out. Look up pictures, something on the internet. Wonder if I can do it by only loosening one thing. Let's see. Alright, I opted for my longer breaker bar with an adapter, but I should be able to pull on it like that, and that should relieve some tension. I need 2 hands to do this part, so I'm going to do this and then kind of loosen the belt off one of those and not lose it. I loosened that enough that I was able to get it off the alternator pulley. Alright, so I'm kind of underneath the vehicle here, and I'm going to try to reach up. There is a small stud right here, and you need a special socket. You know what this is? It's not normal. This is called an E-Torx or something. This is an E7. Anything else is going to strip it. Now there's that tiny part there. That's the E7, but behind it is a nut. That's a 13 mil. So I'm gonna have to take that nut off. Ooh, there we go. It's almost like I pre-loosened it slightly off camera. Wow, it's so dark. Start with the great camera work, guys. There we go. There's one. Let's put that aside. So I'm not gonna lose it. Now that nut is off, I can put the E7 on there. And I should be able to loosen that stud. I'm going to need 2 hands. Not sure how long it is. This is the most awkward thing ever. There we go. Jeez, look at the size of that thing. Okay, make sure I don't lose that. Now next are those 2. I've got a 13 mil gear wrench for this. Be careful of your radiator fins, not to damage those when you're down up in here. Down up in here? When you're down in here. 1. Add that to a pile that I'm not going to lose. Now when I get this one out, I'm not sure if the whole thing's going to just fall out or not. We'll see what happens. Since I removed that stud, this could be the only thing holding on is this one bolt. Yeah, that's probably the case. This could be the moment we've all been waiting for. Or in like 30 seconds. Okay. Ooh. Okay, don't lose it. Where can I stick that and not lose it? Pocket. Okay, if I'm lucky, I might be able to just pull the radiator. Oh my gosh, it's been a long one. The alternator up. I've got all that stuff loose. Slide around. Ooh, it's a little heavy. I don't want to drop that on anything important, do I? Cables. Wiggle it free. Let's get that out of the way. Who needs oil? Get that later. There's the alternator. Wow. It spins. But apparently the insides are sad. Alright, so I've lost the light. I got a headlamp, some lights on top of a garbage can, and this little thing. And we're going to try to put the new alternator in the dark. So anytime I install bolts or something that, you know, potentially I may want to take out again, I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on the end of it. I'm not going to do much because I hope to never have to do this job again. I put those here so I don't drop them somewhere down in the engine. Let's start just by trying to get the alternator down in there, and then we'll put in our first bolts. Yeah, it'll be something like that. It does it. Slowly. I mean, they really engineered this car for fixing, right? Right? Oh, don't drop it. Okay. Roughly in place is going to be somewhere in there. Okay, let's start with 1. So I'm going to have to wiggle that around to figure out where those bolts went. Here, sorry with the light. Wiggle that around until I figure out where those bolts actually go. You just can listen to me say words off camera. I think I have 3 arms for this. Okay, I've got one kind of threaded in. The next one, once I have that, then it's that little weird stud. I'm not going to fully tighten them yet until I have that weird stud piece in. Having a gear wrench is handy for this. Okay, I don't want to go fully tight. I want to make sure that bottom stud's going to be able to get lined up. Alright, next is the little stud. It's going to go right in that hole there. So that was the weird number 7 reverse Torx looking thing, and we're just going to do this stupid thing slowly, a tiny bit at a time, because I can't get my hands up in there. Now I'm sure there's a torque spec for this. We're going to keep going until it's just basically as tight as it was when I took it off. I wouldn't guess more than 20 foot-pounds if I was to actually put a torque wrench on here. I think most of the holding power is going to end up being from the nut that slides onto the end of this. Alright, on top of that is the nut. This uses a 13 mil. There's my 13 mil fingers, right? Alright, finger tighten, and then socket. Let's do this with 2 hands. Okay, that thing's tight. I got that tightened to probably 25-30 foot-pounds. I'm going to go do the front alternator bolts as well now, just making sure they're nice and tight. That's the 13. Get it nice and tight. For me, I'm probably guessing that's probably around 40 for me, if I was to give that a guess, but I can't fit my torque wrench in here, so we're going to do just the mitts. I'm going to use that tensioner, get the belt back up on there. Got to make sure that each of those ribs, and I believe there's 6 ribs, that are all lined up so things will spin smoothly and not destroy themselves. All right, you can see the belt up there. It's all lined up again. Serpentine belt. There's 6 ribs. They should line up with those 6 grooves, and they need to fit everything. There's, I think that's the AC compressor. There's all the other stuff over there. Everything is lined up. My hand feels good. There's no pinching. Nothing slid off. Sorry about the light. It's getting dark out. Now everything else is pretty much in reverses as you saw it. I'm going to attach the electrical, the hose, we've got the shroud, a bunch of things. And the very last thing that we'll do is the battery. So I'm just going to set this up in the engine bay. Okay, there's that clip on. There's that bolt you got to tighten here. That's a 13. Nice. Okay, good. There's a wiring harness for that. Reattach the radiator hose. Let's see how much drips out when we do this. Ooh, most of it dripped out already. Good. Okay, I believe that is everything from the top. I'm going to go back under and reattach the little shroud, that cover thing that went over. Don't want to over tighten those. It is just a plastic cover. Should be good to put the battery back on. Good old 10 mil. Okay. If I put absolutely everything all back in, I think, let's start the vehicle, see how she works. All right, in the vehicle, let's turn her on. All right, well, that's the first good sign. There won't be any warning lights other than I've got a low tire pressure because it's, you know, minus freaking cold outside. Yeah, called it. they're all up there. I've also got an oil change, but today I'm not seeing any lights that have to do with the battery. This is a good thing. Now, I just plugged in my scan tool. I'm going to put my key into the ignition, and it's going to auto check some stuff. I'm going to open up my menu, and I would like to, let's go to alternator and let's follow the steps. Engine needs to be running. Okay. Start the engine. Turn on my headlights. Click. Press to continue. Now it's going to ask me to maintain an engine speed of at least 2,000. So we'll just crank that up. And I have to maintain that for at least 20 seconds. So far, the alternator, that's good. It's at 14. Earlier, it was running below 12 when I tested it yesterday before buying the new parts. I'd never done that one before in that specific vehicle, but I think it worked out pretty good. So that was a 160 amp alternator. Prices range for those anywhere between $200 and $600, depending on if you're buying off-brand versus name brand OEM stuff. And we will see how this works. I'm going to be testing the alternator every day for the next week just to make sure that it is still running fine and at acceptable levels. I don't want to see numbers in the 15 volts and stuff like that. That would mean that there could be an overheating issue. Maybe it's a bad alternator. Not sure. Either way, those are the steps that I took to put it in. I'm sure there's better ways, but however, I did this all with hand tools. Again, the only power tool I use is my drill. to take off a couple small things. I hope that was helpful. I'm seeing other videos on how to do this, and I really wanted to try it out myself. Turned out I was able to do it without having to take it to the shop. Fingers crossed. Either way, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment with anything that maybe was helpful. If you got any other tips for anybody else, leave them below. Don't just be like, you should have done it this way. Yeah, I wish I knew some other ways, but I did it using the knowledge I had and the patience, I guess. Anyways, have a great day. Hope you guys are doing good, or at least better, after fixing your alternator. Bye.